Hey guys, um, I have a few things that I want to talk to you guys about this past week and about this week and some of the readings and some of the things that we're going to be doing. Um, but as far as last week goes, the homework assignment, first of all, I'm really excited about all of your responses. I'm really excited and encouraged about how each of you are trying to engage in absurdity and creativity in your lives. And it was fun reading about your stories and reading about how people responded. And with that said, I think that the homework assignment failed on my part because of me, actually, because I failed to encourage y'all to focus on the context of the situation. Alicia, I think you had a great point. You said, that like in doing the assignment, it showed that it has to have meaning for the other people in the interaction, and that was exactly what the assignment was about. The assignment was about building a context in which creativity or absurdity made sense in the situation. So I'm really glad that you arrived at that conclusion. I think that you were spot on. Um, for me, I decided to do the homework assignment as well. Um, and I decided to go with the phrase purple bees. As I was typing up the assignment, purple bees just kind of came to mind, and I typed it up and then I backspaced it, and I thought, no, you know what? That's just kind of was the first thing that came to mind. I just need to trust that and go with it and just see where it takes me. So I left it with purple bees, and I decided to use that. And all week I was trying to think of how can I build a context in a communication with someone that would where purple bees would make sense. I kept thinking, well, okay, we could talk about colors, we could talk about bees, we could talk about beehives, we could talk about honey. All of these are kind of starting points to get me to being able to say purple bees in a context where it made sense, where the other person wouldn't think that I was just kind of saying random stuff. Um, and I never really got to a context, or I never really built something that I was quite satisfied with. And this past weekend, I was looking at my husband's Instagram feed, and his Instagram feed is completely different than mine. He follows a lot of science and astronomy and the International Space Station, and he's a backpacker. He enjoys backpacking, so he has a lot of wildlife and national park things that he follows. He follows TSA. So anyways, I was scrolling through his feed and looking at all of the different things, and there was a science post on there, and it had a blue bee as the picture, and in the caption it said, "Did you know that not all bees are yellow?" And I thought, oh, that's perfect. That's something that I can go with. So I struck up a conversation with someone and said, "Did you know not all bees are yellow?" And then that kind of started a dialogue. And then I said, well, what do you think would happen if a blue bee and a red bee mated? Do you think it could make a purple bee? And that was it. That was my phrase. But it was said in a way that made sense given the context. Let me tell you another story, and maybe demonstrate this point in a little bit of a different way. So when I was in college, I became active in this organization, and this particular organization, the entrance to the building, it had two doors, and they were like it was like a double glass doors. Like picture a storefront, and you're just walking into the storefront, and it's got double glass doors. Okay, so whenever you came up to the door, I always tried this door, and it never worked. It just seemed like it was locked. So eventually, I had to walk in and out the other door. Next time I came up, I did the same thing. I tried to go in this door. It wouldn't open, so I had to go in and out of this door. Well, eventually, it became known as the doors. We were able to identify new people, freshmen, as they were coming into the organization, new people, because they would always try this door, it would never work, and so then they would eventually try this door. So the door became known as the freshman door. And from thenceforward, whenever we ran into a door that wouldn't open, we'd say, oh, it's a freshman door. Okay, well, if I were just to say to you freshman door, which seems kind of like a random group of words, that wouldn't mean anything to you. There is no context in which that makes sense to you. It's kind of like sharing a private joke with someone. You can share kind of the punchline of the joke and everybody gets it because they were involved in the building of its context. But if you were just to say the punchline, no one would get it. Similar to a joke. Like if you were just to say the punchline of a joke, nobody gets it without the context that you've built in order for the joke to make sense. And I would like to make this point too. If you're just saying random things, like of the punchline of a joke, I think that could even come off as offensive to people. It may make them feel like they're being made fun of, or they're not really included in the joke, and it can come off as rude. And in the context of therapy or even teaching, I think that this is a disservice to the people that we're communicating with. In my opinion, therapy is about walking alongside people, living life with people. And how can we live life with them if we're just saying random things that don't make sense? It makes sense to us, but it doesn't make sense to them. I think that's not really living life together. That's living life in I know more than you and you know less than me, which can potentially be unhelpful. I really like the act metaphor that Keeney presents. First of all, I'm a theater person. I really enjoy a good play. I've been in several plays myself. The final line of the play in Act 3 does not make sense without the context of Act 1 and Act 2. Like in Act 1, you're introduced to the characters. In Act 2, something unexpected happens, and then Act 3 there's some sort of resolution. Well, the resolution would make no sense if you don't have a problem and you don't have the characters to begin with. So the assignment was all about building a context in which creativity or absurdity made sense. This is something that's been really important to me in regards to this class. Building a context where creativity makes sense. We didn't start out with creativity. We started out with systemic theory, and then we moved to first and second order change, and then we began reading about absurdity and creativity. We still haven't even gotten to transformation. I'm trying to build a context for you guys in which creative transformation makes sense. It's not just something that you're kind of diving into. Keeney writes, I'm on page 22 of The Creative Therapist. He says, Act 1 presents what the client brings to a session. Act 2 moves the session to address a theme or topic that was completely unexpected. Act 3, the therapist holds onto the presence of something new and unexpected and works with it. Act 3 takes place after therapy has successfully managed to creatively turn the theme and focus of the session into a creative zone that calls forth even more spontaneous creative movements. I think Daniel's homework example, or Daniel's homework assignment, his reaction with the homework assignment was a really great example of this. Daniel, you were able to build a context in which not only you were feeding into it, everybody else was too. That's how you know that people are buying into the idea that you're presenting, or buying into the creativity or absurdity that you're inserting into the context. They're able to feed into it too. So that way that you're both creating meaning. It's not just you throwing out random things. Both of you are working together to create something. There's another section that I would like to read to you guys from The Creative Therapist. can find it. It's on page 35. It says, begin the first act by acting in any way that aims to transform the experience of the clients who have come asking and paying you to help facilitate a change. When a change occurs, utilize its movements to perpetuate ongoing change of whatever is brought forth. This momentum, like a snowball getting larger and larger, will roll you into a finale where movement is rippling through the conversation. In other words, movement just happens without you having to push it along. It's something that you're just co-creating with the person that you're communicating with. Inventing new possibilities for altered action and accelerating readiness for a different world, the flux of a changing life, to be faced when the clinic door is open for everyone's exit. I think that it would be worth it for all of us to engage in this homework assignment again. Keep your same words, keep your same phrases. Just think about how you can build a context in which that phrase makes sense. You have to think a little bit in advance of a couple of moves ahead, similar to chess. You also have to play with it. Give yourself some maneuverability. Purple pickles? What does purple pickles mean? How can you play around with purple pickles? How can you, what can purple pickles mean to people? This week is a really action-heavy week for you guys. The reading, I think, is only maybe 10 pages, but I'm really hoping that you all will engage in the questions that Keeney writes. In in chapter 7 and 8, Keeney kind of lays out some pragmatic things. A therapist resource assessment on page 108 has several questions, 58 to be exact, that you can go through to kind of figure out what is your creative style, what is it that's unique about you, what is it that you can bring to the table to help people. Additionally, in chapter 8 on being an improvisational therapist, he ends with a closing assignment. I really encourage y'all to engage in these things throughout the week. Start early because we have a reaction paper due at the end of the week. Please take your time and question yourself and question your creativity and see where is it that you're growing and where can you expand. And I'm excited to hear from you guys. If you have any questions, let me know.